this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. It is said amongst a lot of people who watch bonsai YouTube channels that they're all too long. So I'm going to do a little experiment today. I'm going to try and summer trim 3 large maples in less than half an hour, and I'm not going to speed it up. I don't think I'll make it, but we'll see what we can do. Somebody has actually requested a full bonsai update. I will think about doing that, but first I want to get them all trimmed up and tidied, these 3 in particular. So I've got the camera set quite a long way back. I haven't got my turntable because I don't think it's necessary for the type of work I'm going to do, and hopefully that is going to be over my shoulder. Now, as you can see, what's happened with this tree happens with most maples in the summer. They become a bush. They lose their bonsai-ness. So basically we've got to get it back. And the way to get it back is to look through the tree and see what's in the way that shouldn't be there. And it's basically, this is the lowest branch, so everything that's between there and the next branch up, it shouldn't be there. So we just take it off. Doesn't matter what it is or which branch it comes off. If it's covering up that join, then it comes off. I'm not being fussy, as you can see. I'm not looking to see whether I'm next to a bud or which direction or anything like that. Plus the overall extensions that have been created have just got to come off. Because they will take the shape away from the tree. And of course you're putting growth into stuff you don't want. You know, it's going to come off anyway. When you do your winter trim, when you can see the whole structure of the tree, you'll think, well, I don't want all that. Well, don't put the energy into it if you're not going to keep it. And this is just I can't get round the back. So there will still be some to do in the winter. What I'm trying to do is create or recreate that gap. There's a proper gap there, or there should be, where we look through the tree. And then we get to the point where we can recover the trunk. So there we go, that's effectively that one virtually done. And what we can now do is see this bit of the trunk, and we've got our negative space again. There's still a few bits sticking up here that I can do without. You can see what I'm attempting to do, and I'm attempting to do it quickly because at this time of year I'm not too fussed about getting back budding. It's produced an awful lot of growth this year. Now we come over to this branch, and we've got the same effect here. We've got stuff sticking up and hanging down that's losing the negative space. So we've just got to get it back. But first of all, we recreate the shape of the branch by taking the long extensions off. And again, anything hanging down will end up coming off in a winter trim. So we don't, you know, this tree needs to have a dome shape, and if it gets too wide, although maples don't look that bad if they're wide rather than tall, you know, they're not a tall, slim, elegant tree. In their natural environment they do tend to be wide and layered. So I want this one, whoops, a couple of dead leaves there, don't think they're off this tree. I want this tree roughly as wide as it is tall from the point that we get the branches. So where did we get to? We've just taken the edge of that branch off to regain the shape. Now what we've got to do is recreate the negative space. So again, anything interrupting that, sticking up or hanging down, comes off. You can see I'm not being careful, I'm being quite ruthless. And at this time of year I'm quite happy doing that. So that's our negative space and our shape. Next branch up, negative space, so everything above it that's hanging down needs to come off. There's a fair bit of that too, and anything that's sticking up. The negative space as you get higher up the tree, it doesn't become less important, but it doesn't need to be as dramatic. You know, it can be more subtle, but it still needs to be there. And that bit encroaches on the trunk, so we'll trim that bit. I'm going to take that right off. Again, I like to see the trunk. I don't mind a few bits encroaching on it a bit higher up, but I do like to see, and this has got quite a nice shape to it, and it's actually thickening up now. I don't know how old this is, but it's one of a pair, and then we get up to the top. Now up on the top is a lot of extension growth and some pretty large leaves. So I'm looking at the overall shape. As I said, I can't really get around the back at the moment, but I can see some stuff that's obviously sticking out. And sticking up. Right. Looking through there's two bits that don't need to come off, preferably without my finger coming with them. Go steady when you've got sharp scissors and you're pointing them at where you think you want to cut and your finger's in the way. Right. Overall shape now, we're coming up here and up here, so you can see that there's a lot sticking out here that's breaking the outline of where the outline should be. So that's all we're doing, is we're going back to the outline that should be there. And then we'll round it off as we come up. And then in doing so we find some dead leaves, bits of stuff that's come out of the gutter and fallen on the tree. Thank you, magpies. Well, actually this time of year it's sparrows, not magpies. Come down round the front. Right, so that dome's now there. Now we come round and start looking at this side. And obviously you can see there's an awful lot sticking out the front here that we don't want. This year's extensions. And an awful lot sticking out the back. That'll do. That'll do. I've got my visual on the trunk again. We've created our dome on the top, minus a few bits that I couldn't reach before that I will now stretch to get to. So we've created our dome, we've recreated our outline, and we've got our negative space. That's one done. Next. Right, this is the sister tree. They were bought as 6-inch cuttings at the same time. This one is more vigorous. This one has created branches like this that certainly can't be trimmed with my little scissors. They need cutting right off. Like so. There's probably a couple like that. I think most of the rest can probably be done with the scissors. So same principle again. There's my trunk line, and obviously this branch here is encroaching on it quite badly. So it can be unencroached to start with, so that I can see through. Let me turn this a bit so you can see what I'm getting at. Negative space. Not too bad on this branch, quite honestly, but we do have some ridiculously long extensions. This as well get them off now. They would come off in the winter. They didn't come off now. This branch is starting to hang down a little bit too much to go with the trunk of the tree and the rest of the branch structure. So all I need to do really is think where my outline is and then come in at it, because it's grown out too much. As I said, I like my maples to be roughly as wide as they are tall. Doesn't have to be an exact science, but if this outline's going to run up to the top, yeah, then that's about good enough. This branch here has a side branch that I've turned into a back branch, which you probably can't see. And down at the bottom it's produced some side shoots that I'm not sure whether I want to keep or not, so I'm leaving them for now. And the back branch is just needs its ends taken off. This is where we chop the end of our finger off because I can't see what I'm doing. Looking through the tree at where I'm cutting, it's not ideal. That's done. Right, over to this side then. Negative space completely lost, and most of it's been lost by what's hanging down, but some of it's been lost by what's sticking up. So we start with those bits that are hanging down. Now this branch has had a mend on it. You won't be able to see it, but here there's a line on the bark that goes like that. I tried pulling this down and it snapped, and I basically glued it back together, and quite honestly you can hardly see the join. So I say, otherwise this branch would have been lost, and that would have quite honestly been the tree totally ruined. So I managed to save that branch, but it still sticks up too much, so we're going to take a chunk of it off. That's quite a bit, I know, but that's better. Look at the outline again. It's my width. Coming back in a bit here because again it's encroaching on my trunk. And we've still got a little bit too much height. Is that what I think it is? Flipping well is. Mealybugs. Cheeky little monkeys. There's only a couple. Tree like this will survive a few mealybugs. It becomes an infestation. You'll see white fluffy bits all over the tree. Right, that's our negative space recreated on both of these branches. Now we get into where the trunk actually splits on this particular one. Negative space not quite so important beyond this point, but silly little things like this are important because they shouldn't have been allowed to extend in the first place. So what we've got to do now is take this and follow that shape up to create our dome. That's a fair bit needs to come off. To say it's extended, gone a bit mad this one this year. Got extensions like this. Ridiculous. Off you come. Need to be able to see through here. So we'll take a bit of that off. So I need to be able to see this bit here because it's quite an important part of the structure. And now we've got a few bits hanging down that need to come off so that we can see through here. Through to this area here. Right, we've gone up there, now we need to come up this side. This doesn't need much doing to it, nor does that, and then we come to the top. Get in here with these really long extensions. They just need to come off, irrespective of the shape of the tree. They would never get left on, so they just need to come off. And then look at what's left. And what's left is just getting the top redomed. Big one again. I need to be a foot taller, quite honestly, to be able to do this comfortably. So there's one back branch there I need to get at. I think that will probably do. Let's have a look. No, I'm still not happy. There's a bit of branch structure there I would like to see. There's a couple of little branches that have grown directly out of the trunk. Now sometimes they're an absolute blessing because they're in a place where you haven't got a branch, but when they're in a place that you don't want, you just take them back to the trunk. Do I want to keep that? I don't think. It crosses over, comes back into the centre. Yep, happy with that. Right, that is the two small ones. I'll be back. Right, and this is my Dishojo. Ridiculously long extensions. It's got some health back into the tree following a major repot with quite a lot of roots coming off at that particular time. So those extensions will have put energy back into the root system, recovered the feeder roots. Now Dishojos at this time of year don't look too clever. They lose their gorgeous bright red, like this, well better than that, from the spring, from the new growth. And obviously it's too early for their autumn colour yet, so they just look a murky greeny red colour this time of year, which is not actually that nice looking. But this is going to take quite a bit of hacking. Now this has got a branch that comes off quite low down and forms a cascade, which is part of the design. I like it, but it's too long. The problem I've got now is it's also, I don't know what I'm going to do here, because the pot is almost as big as my junk tray, but this cascade has started to go up. That spoils its effect. So effectively it's again, what's sticking up is going to need to come off. I might have to just chuck this on the floor and clean it up. Dustpan and brush jobby. But it's also broken the outline of the tree this year where it's grown so much. So we will try and recover that. It is a nice branch, it's very important, especially in the spring. But at the moment, it's just gone mad. And what's spoiling its effect, in the case of some larger leaves on it, is actually this branch here, which has grown a lot of dangly stuff. That's not going to be there much longer, is it? For obvious reasons. Long extension, let's just take them off. Whoops. Right, so where are we? It's difficult to work on this when it gets this bad. I think I'm just going to have to put that on my table and clean it up later. I want the long extensions initially because they spoil the outline and they stop me seeing where the structure's gone, because they come out all over the place. And as I said, this one's been allowed to go a bit mad this year. Get a bit of strength back into it and get the root system back again. Whew. Right, so structure, it's in there. This is currently a bush. It's not meant to be a bush, it's meant to be a bonsai. And in its raw state, without all these extensions, and quite honestly, without so much leaf cover, like in the spring, it's a very attractive bonsai. This time of year, not so much, it's just a bush. It loses all of its effect, which is a shame really, but it does it every year, it ends up being a bush. I end up carving it, try and reclaim it a bit. Right, taken the top of that off. Needs a bit more taken off because that's a view through to the trunk, which is wanted. So anything that's blocking that view has to come off. Then we're looking at here, same again, it's blocking the view. Some quite large leaves again, long extensions. So you've got a nice layer here, but it needs to be low enough that you can see the bits sticking out above it. So again, hanging down and sticking up. Take the two off and you get your negative space back. Some moss here from up on the guttering. I haven't got my turntable, I'm going to have to turn the whole tray because I do need to get round the back here and I can't really see what I'm doing else. Long extensions heading back into the centre of the tree. Can you see through that gap now? Yes. It's a little bit too much here. There's not a lot I can do about that. That's an important branch. Or is it? I've got a nasty stump here that's always worried me. It's a large branch that was cut, leaving one each side. Now that this branch has grown, could I do without this one? No, because it will leave quite an ugly bit sticking out the side. So this has to stay. Worth a look, you never know. If in doubt with a branch, often you see people, they get a piece of card or something like that and hold it over the branch that they're thinking of cutting off, and it gives a better impression of what would be left after it was cut off. It does actually work, it's not a bad idea. Little shoots coming out of the main trunk there, which we don't want. Right, now let's move over to this side a bit. And this side's become a tangle. First job, ridiculously long extensions. And these are only just thin enough for me to cut off with the scissors here. They're getting a bit thick. Can't find the base of that one. Right, let's get the dangly bits and the sticking up bits done first. And the bits crossing over. There's several branches have merged into the bush. I need to find the gaps again. I've gone over half an hour already. It was a target to aim at. I never expected to achieve it. Right, what about this lot over here? Overall shape of the tree is now too wide, so this has got to come back. Now, normally I would start at the bottom and work up, but in this particular case I'm starting here because the middle of the tree is the bit that's extended the most, and it's going to be the most dramatic effect when it's been cut back. Like that, and all this stuff sticking out the front. Really has gone mad this year. That's the colour in the spring, a nice new shoot there. That's our spring colour that we look forward to. The whole tree is that colour in the spring, and it is stunning. I'm sure if you look back through my bonsai videos, you'll find one showing what it looked like in the spring. Bound to be one there somewhere. Right, how are we doing? Sticking up bits. Come on, off you go. Let's get our view through. Need that gap there. It's an important gap. Important part of the structure, and now I can see where the edge of the tree needs to be because we took those bits higher up off, and we've got an awful lot hanging down that we don't want, and hanging out the back. More. Now you've got that bit of negative space back almost. Keep working at it, just keep niggling at it until you're happy that your negative space shows, which is there. So those are the bits that are spoiling it. Now I've got a shoot here. Believe it or not, this is coming from the back branch, right through the tree and out to the front. I'm trying to find where it starts. There. Right through the tree. From one side to the other. How are we doing then? I'm getting puffed out. Right, come on then. Let's attack the top. Let's attack the top. We have buzzy creatures decided to come and join us. The trouble with having the door open because of this heat and the sun on the roof. Buzzy creatures come in. Most of the time they find their own way out. Sometimes they spend the night and find their way out in the morning. But I've buried my tools here. I need that one. The horrible stubby bit there that's sort of died off. So that can come off. There. It's on the floor now. At least I know where it is. So how are we doing then? We've still got a lot of long extensions up the back here that are difficult to get at, but we'll get there. Right. So we've got our apex, it's a little bit flat. Why is it flat? Because this bit's not rounded. So if we round that off, we'll regain our dome. Like that. That's not bad. Still don't like this. It's blocking the structure in there. But if I take it off, like I say, then I've got a horrible stumpy bit showing. I'm not happy with that bit. Perhaps I should just thin it out a bit. Doesn't mean bend it down. Oh, I'm going to have to bend down to pick that up anyway. Let's have a look. What can we remove? Let's remove that one. See what that does. And that. Which means that we can then remove that. And that. And then that. That's just sticking out a bit too much. It's not a branch, it's just leaves. That's a bit better. That's sticking up. So we're getting back to the base of that whole branch now. I've taken two bits off. Now I've taken the branch off. Now we can see through. That's better. I like that. Right, that's going to do. And that is, it says on here 12 minutes. Oh, of course I've been stopping, haven't I? So it's effectively 3 sections. The last one, this one, was 12 minutes. Well, if all of them were 12 minutes, that's 3 12s, it's over half an hour, isn't it? It's bound to be. But anyway, that's my summer trim for my 3 large maples. We did the trident maple last time, but that wasn't a summer trim, that was a styling. That was its initial styling, so there was a lot of branch structure and branch selection went in with that one. With the 3 we've just done, there isn't really any branch selection, that was done a long time ago. As I said, this one, its openness and its leaves on the outside with its cascade branch, it actually works quite well. And for the first month or so when the leaves break, it's an actually stunning bonsai. But as it fills out like this and the larger leaves start forming, it's less so. But nonetheless, it spends a good couple of months at the beginning of the year looking absolutely wonderful. It is a nice tree. So there we go, that's the 3 that I'm doing today. As I said, somebody did ask for a full bonsai update. The next Orchid Society, Wessex Orchid Society, come on! The next Wessex Bonsai Society meeting is a talk by Malcolm, very, very long-term experienced guy. He was the actual chairman for many, many years, in the days, in its heyday, when I used to go to every meeting and everything. And they had 2 shows a year. It was a big deal once. And COVID nearly killed it. But he's doing a talk on pines. I hope he sticks to pines and doesn't wander into junipers, because that, to me, they're separate. They're conifers, but they don't work like pines do. I'm hoping he'll stick to pines. I have a Scots pine that was structured and shaped many, many years ago. My job with that is to keep it in shape. However, I do have a relatively young white pine, Japanese white pine, that are not the easiest to grow in this country because they don't like our cold, wet winters. They prefer cold, dry winters. Yeah, it's growing very well this year. It's put on a lot of nice new growth. And quite honestly, I don't know what to do next with it, if you see what I mean. So I'm looking forward to that meeting. Hopefully get some tips. And then we may well bring it in here and apply some of those tips. We shall see how we go. So more bonsai videos to come. I've got a Japanese larch that needs some shaping. Possibly some wiring, as it's come to the time of year where most of its real swelling type growing has finished. Not yet, could do with another 3 or 4 weeks, but soon. And yeah, I'll leave it at that for this one. Hope you've enjoyed that hack. This is how Peter Chan got his reputation. This is what's called hacking. This is not proper bonsai pruning where you look at every little twig and every bud and spend some time and then go snip. If I did that to the tree we've just done here, it would be half a day. I haven't got half a day, and I certainly haven't got the patience. So I tend to go a little bit down the Peter Chan, nickname Hacker Chan, or Chopper Chan I think it was. But basically he's running a nursery with thousands of trees. You can't muck about like that. And his trees are worth thousands of pounds, and that's how they often get pruned. And I sort of think, one bud, one little twig, or shall we give it a chop like this? I go for this. They recover very quickly, and next year, in the spring, this will be a smashing tree again. It'll get a trim in the winter, which is basically looking at crossing branches, any dead bits, and any bits that are just breaking the lines of the branches ready for leaf break. So it will get that. Certainly won't need a repot. I don't think the other 2 will get repotted. I'll have to look at my notes to find out when they were last done. But the pots they're in are big enough, they're deep enough. Maples in really shallow pots, you can do a lot of watering. They mustn't dry out, they have to stay hydrated. And at the moment, all of my maples are out of the sun, they don't get any. They would like some sun, but not the level of sun that we've got at the moment, with the intensity and the heat that goes with it. Wouldn't do them any good at all. So they're all in the shade at the moment. Now I've got to try and lift this again to put it back where it came from. It's incredibly heavy. So I will see you in the next one. Hope you've enjoyed that hack. As I said, not a lot of explanation there. I'm looking at the overall shape and the negative space, which is what gives bonsai a lot of its look. A bush, to me, is not a bonsai. A bonsai has gaps, as do most mature trees in the wild if you look at them. So that's how I like to work. And I will see you next time. thanks for dropping by. We certainly blew the half an hour, didn't we? I knew we would, but as I said, you have to have goals and you aim at them and don't always hit them. Bye for now.